Ryobi's second generation of 1+ HP tools just dropped, and they're supposed to bring more power, more speed, and more bite than ever before. So let's take a closer look at the new 18-volt hammer drill, impact driver, and circular saw and see if they really earn that HP badge. These HP brushless Gen 2 tools look really similar to the first gen models you might be familiar with. On paper, some of the specs aren't all that different from the previous generation. So I'm eager to get to testing to see how much better these new tools are. And to keep things even, all of today's testings, we're using two brand new 4 Ah Edge batteries. First up is the Ryobi hammer drill. It's the PB LHM 102. The best way to see if there's an improvement is to compare it to the PB LHM 101 drill that it replaces. Side by side, the two drills look nearly identical. Aside from a few stubble tweaks in the rubber overmold and the clutch ring, the drills seem more like twins than being a generation apart. When comparing the specs, you'll know that there's a small bump in speed. The new drill gains 100 more inch-pounds of torque, and to help with hammer drilling into concrete, an additional 3,400 blows per minute. The rest of the features remain largely unchanged, including the price, just $129 for the bare tool. What we're going to do is run these two drills through a few tests to see which one of these is faster and more powerful. This first test includes using a 2 9/16 inch self-feed bit through a 2x4. The idea here is to see how fast we can drill 3 holes, take an average of our times, and we'll see which drill is faster. I attempted to drill the holes in high speed, and the Gen 1 tool would almost instantly stop once the bit hit into the wood. And with the Gen 2, I was able to get about 3/4 of the way through before it would bind up and stop. Ultimately, this test was completed in low speed for both tools. The Gen 1 drill had an average time of 6.33 seconds per hole, and the Gen 2 drill had an average time of 3.6 seconds. That's nearly twice as fast in this application. Our next test covers an area where we saw the biggest change in specs, namely that increase of 3,400 blows per minute when using the drill and hammer mode. We're gonna use our cured concrete block and drill some 3-inch deep holes using our 3/8 of an inch concrete drill bit. We'll make 3 holes with each drill and then compare the times. As I expected, the Gen 2 drill was quicker with an average time of 7 seconds for each hole versus the 8.6 seconds for the Gen 1 tool. The small bump in RPM and the extra 3,400 BPM is really what gives the Gen 2 drill the edge. The Gen 2 hammer drill may look similar on the outside, but under the hood, it clearly packs more of a punch. The Gen 2 drill packs in more torque, faster speeds, and higher BPMs, which were evident in our 2 quick tests that we did today. The next tool is the Gen 2 Ryobi PBL ID04 impact driver. The model we're comparing it to is the PBL ID02. Let's get to it. Like the 2 drills we tested, the 2 impact drivers look almost the same when compared side by side. The base of the new drill driver and its rubber overmold is carryover for sure. But one of the biggest visual differences is the overall length of the head, which is actually almost a ½ inch shorter on the Gen 2 model. Looking at the specs, there's a big jump in speed from 2,900 to 3,400 RPM. There was also a 100 inch-pound bump of torque and 200 IPM jump for the impact rate. The Ryobi did all this while still producing a shorter, more compact head. The rest of the specs are mostly the same, though you can expect to pay about $10 more for the Gen 2 model. We're gonna run both impact drivers through a few tests to see which one is the quickest. The first is our RSS screw test, where we'll drive an 8-inch long rugged structural screw into our stacked and laminated OSB block. After installing 3 of these fasteners with each impact driver, what we'll do is we'll take an average of our times and see which one's really the fastest. This particular test shows the difference between 2 tools in both speed and torque in what is a pretty taxing test. The Gen 2 is nearly twice as fast with an average of 7 seconds per RSS screw, while the Gen 1 screwed them in 12 seconds each. Our next test looks at bolt breakaway torque. And what we're gonna use is our bolt torque rig here and set the nuts to 150 foot-pounds each and see which tool is the quickest to break free all 8 lug nuts. With the right bit adapters and sockets, in a pinch, you can use your impact driver like a NASCAR pit crew. The Gen 1 tool was fast at just 19 seconds for all 8 nuts, but the Gen 2 was even faster at 15 seconds for all 8 lug nuts. This test is fun because it really takes impact drivers to the extreme, and that normally we would choose an impact wrench to do these things. With the performance improvements in the Gen 2 tool, not only is it smaller, it's faster than the Gen 1. and it actually ranked 4th out of all the major brand impact drivers we tested in our recent impact driver tool roundup. This tool is pushing pro-level performance at a bargain value. The last tool we're going to look at today is the 2nd generation Ryobi PBL-CS 302 circular saw. And we're comparing that model to the previous model, which is the PBL-CS 300. Out of the 3 new tools, the circular saw stands out as having the most noticeable upgrades from the last generation, at least in terms of features, specs, and looks. The saw feels like it's finally grown up and now is more in line with what we see from some other big names. They moved the front grip forward, gave us a folding rafter hook, and the bevel adjustment is finally all metal. The vacuum attachment port is also more direct and does a better job of collecting sawdust. Overall, this Gen 2 saw just feels like a better tool. At first glance, the RPMs are boosted to 5,000 now. We also get an increase in both 90-degree and 45-degree cut capacity and a better vacuum port. All the improvements do come with a little more heft though. The new saw adds just over a pound of weight and $40 more as a price tag. Question is it worth it? In getting ready to test these 2 circular saws, I swapped in 2 brand new framing blades. And in this first test, I'm going to do a series of 5 time cross cuts across a pressure treated 2x10, and then we'll compare their times. The idea is to push the saws hard without stalling them if we can help it. This cross cut test demonstrates what is probably the most common type of cut these saws will do. It's pretty simple and really tests things like ergonomics, sight lines, and ease of use. The Gen 1 saw was able to do 5 cuts in 18 seconds, and the Gen 2 was able to do them in 16 seconds. Not a huge spread, but that change was the Gen 2 actually feels like a whole new tool, not just an incremental update on the new model. Our next test is an 8-foot-long rip cut with 3 layers of 3/4-inch subflooring OSB. This test really gets to the power that the saw has. It's a long cut that can be pretty taxing on some saws, and it gives us a good idea of the tool's stamina. The long rip cut in this test is really a stamina test because under normal conditions, you're not doing 8-foot-long, 2¼ inch deep cuts. Since it is so much material to cut, chip removal begins to matter as well. All saws were up to the task, but it's a little tricky to balance how fast to push a saw yet not have it stall out. The Gen 1 did the cut in 20 seconds, and the Gen 2 did it in 19 seconds. In both tests, the Gen 2 saw was faster. But there's more to the Gen 2 saw than speed. The Gen 1 tool feels pretty basic, and there's a lot of plastic parts in critical areas, hence you get that weight savings when we compare it to the weight of the Gen 2 tool. Where the Gen 2 tool changed the most is in the ergonomics department. It's way better in the hand. The front handle position is in a much better location. They've also used metal in more critical components, which actually makes it feel a little bit more robust. The other really nice bonus that they added was this rafter hook on the top that allows you to hang it instead of just set it down like this saw. The big question remains, do you upgrade to Gen 2 tools or do you keep using your Gen 1 tools? For me, the upgrade is worth it. The Gen 2 tools feel more pro-level in their performance and features, and actually, in our testing show that Ryobi is serious about delivering real performance without compromising their value proposition. If you want to see how these tools compare to other brands, make sure to check out our head-to-head comparison videos. Are you a professional or a contractor that uses Ryobi cordless tools in your business? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Smash that like button if this video helped you out, and hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on our next showdown. And as always, thanks for watching.